podcast has more technology, Jason, than most small companies.
Yeah, true.
It also has a mobile studio.
I was going to say you could probably go through a drive-through while we're talking.
We could, except it's 13 feet high, so it won't fit in any drive-through.
We need a driver.
Jason, you've had an interesting career. You've been an author for I don't know, 10 plus years, it seems like, but you've done a lot of other things.
Professionally since 2013, but I started in 2008 in terms of actually trying to, make it a thing.
Yeah. You did a nano what is that? Nano.
National Novel Writing Month.
What is that?
So that is a thing that, I don't actually know the name of the group that puts it on, but it started, I want to say early 2000s. So basically the idea is that a lot of people want to write a book, but they feel like it's too big of a task. It takes too much time. They might start it and get a little work done on it or whatever, but they just kind of never finish and it sort of languishes or whatever. And so one of the pieces of advice that professional authors often give is that you have to just sit down and get it done beginning to end, no matter how crappy it is. You just have to go through that experience once, right? It's kind of like someone saying they want to play football, but all they ever do is just practice like throwing it now or running with it or anything like that. They just, you know what I mean? Like you have to actually go through a game, even if it's just with friends, before you can say, okay, I've played football now and I like it and here's what I want to do and how I can get better and all that.
Yeah.
And so it's basically you take the month of November and you sign up on their website and you just agree to, it's kind of all on the honor system, but you basically, every day or however often you want to during that month, you go in and update how many words you've written. And the goal is to write 50,000 words in the month of November.
Oh, wow.
Or whatever you sign up. And 50,000 words is short for a novel these days. It used to be the common size, but it sort of barely qualifies anymore. So like Catcher in the Rye, for example, is about 50,000 words. But a typical, like my latest book, I think was 85,000. The first one I wrote was 130, I think.
Wow.
But they figure it doesn't have to be a complete novel. It doesn't have to be it is a lot of words. It took me about 3 hours a day, every day for that month, the first time I did it. But that was the first time when I realized it totally works. It sort of makes it a habit, writing every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you realize that sort of forcing yourself through the really tough parts and the bits where you're like, oh, this isn't working and I don't like this character anymore. I should just start over. Nope, you just got to keep going to the end. And once you get to the end, you might realize, oh, those things actually worked and I needed them and this is why and here's how I can make them better. It's that constant second guessing and stopping and restarting that messes people up and gets them into that sort of mood where they just never really finish anything.
Mm-hmm.
So is that part of your process now? What you learned from the novel writing?
Aspects of it are for sure. I mean, I think the main thing I got from it was just learning the benefit of writing every day, even if it's just a little bit. When you go, it's really easy to go, a week or two or three, and you're, telling yourself that you're doing research or something. But
yeah.
But even when you're in that mode, if you can still get, even if it's just 50 words or 100 words or something, it just keeps that, sort of, it's like practice in a way. It's keeping that sort of reinforced.
You do hear that from I've heard Jerry Seinfeld talk about that, like every day. He writes every single day.
He makes that chain thing, right? Where he puts an X on every day that he writes and he tries to don't break the chain.
He writes on paper.
Oh, that's cool.
Whatever, but he has a thing, but he writes every single day, like even on vacation or all kinds of stuff. He sort of, spends an hour or whatever it is, a couple hours or something.
Yeah, I haven't heard about Seinfeld doing that. I know like Stephen King talks about this quite a bit. And I remember reading, he has a book called On Writing, which is fantastic. But one of the things he talked about in there was, and I'm going to forget which book it was, but there was one of his novels he wrote while he was on vacation. He couldn't sleep very well, so he would take a pad of like yellow paper down to the hotel lobby at night while his wife was asleep and just write on paper, which it used to be something he would never do, but he was like, so he couldn't sleep. He had the story in his head. He wanted to get it out. So he just basically stayed up all night on his vacation writing on this yellow pad, and it ended up being one of his more successful novels, if I remember right. But that's the type of thing where you could easily just tell yourself, well, when I get home,
Yeah.
I'll work on that. And by then, the fire might be down and you can't remember what your good idea was or anything like that. So
I've heard the same thing about people that write songs and stuff too, that when you get the urge to write the song, you go do it right then. Like you don't just say like, oh, I'll remember it tomorrow. Like you have to sort of go put it down.
Yeah, it's tough. It's funny because I think that the writing part of that is definitely a thing, but the other aspect is ideas. At least for fiction writers like myself, and I would imagine for songwriters and people like that too. And it's this problem of one of the questions we get asked a lot is, where do you get your ideas? As if it's like a problem to get them. Like people are having trouble getting ideas and they want to know, how can I do that? Sorry, I'm going to cough again. This is probably the most I've talked in like a week.
Oh, wow. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I have a friend, Django Wexler, who talks about this, where he says when people ask him, how do you get ideas? Like, and he's like, the problem isn't getting ideas. The problem is I have too many ideas. And I can't keep track of them all, and I can't stay focused on the thing I'm supposed to be working on because I keep getting new ideas for other things, and they're so good that I just want to work on those. But if I only do that, then the thing I'm supposed to be working on, that I have a contract for, the deadline, ends up getting too far behind, or whatever. And so yeah, it's tough to manage all that. And I think it's one of those things where having a bit of a techie background has helped me quite a bit, because I have like spreadsheets and mind maps that I do with a bunch of ideas and how they connect to each other and things like that. That I think that people who just write it on a napkin or something maybe still struggle with keeping track of those things.
Yeah,
but it's totally true. It's one of those things where you want to always be capturing those things, because you never know when they're going to come in handy. The spreadsheet that I keep has like categories for ideas. So one of them might be like dialogue, where I just might I either might get an idea for a line of dialogue that I don't know where it would go yet, or who would use it. Or I might hear, like, we might be on a trip somewhere, Paul, and you might say something funny, and I'll go, oh man, that would be great in a book. I don't know when I'll use that, but that was a really cool line or turn of phrase or whatever. So I'll go and just, on my phone, I'll just throw that in there. And
that's cool.
Probably once every 6 months or so, I read through the whole thing. Or if I'm stuck on something, I'll read.
Right.
It might help.
That's awesome.
I have a question, Jason.
Please, go ahead.
Is the floor open?
Yeah.
The floor is open.
All right. So I've read a lot of your books and I love them. And there's a lot of, like, you incorporate a lot of twists and turns, like plot twists and things you wouldn't expect, and characters that come and go, and, things like that. And I'm curious, when you're writing a book, do you kind of envision all those plot twists up front? Like, do you have an idea how that's all going to work? And you like kind of, or do you outline it all first and then start writing, all of the sort of descriptive, stuff that goes along with it? Or does it happen like as you're writing it, you're like, oh, it'd be great in the next chapter is if this person falls off the crane, like that'll be unexpected.
Dude, you just gave the book away.
Well, oh no, the big surprise.
The crane reveal.
Hold on one second. It sounds like a cop-out answer maybe, but it's sort of a mixture of everything you said. I do outline, and one of the things that I sort of learned way back when I was doing National Novel Writing Month and stuff like that, there's a book that starting out writers often get recommended called Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. And in many ways, it's a terrible book. For one thing, the guy is like a complete jerk. He's super arrogant and anyway, I won't go there. He's passed on now, so I feel like I can say bad things. Normally, we don't talk bad about other authors. But how do I explain this? Save the Cat is a book about how to write screenplays, specifically the very formulaic Hollywood movies that most people don't really enjoy, but still make money and people go see. And so he very sort of coldly and scientifically like lays out, if you have a screenplay that's 110 pages long or whatever, on page 10, this needs to happen. Like, this is where your main character needs to have something happen to them that's a problem that they have to solve by the end of the movie, right?
Oh,
It
interesting.
has to be on page 10, because in a movie, one page is a minute of screen time. And so 10 minutes into a film, if this hasn't happened, you've got problems. You've got, if people are going to say the movie was slow or whatever.
Right.
And he lays that out for the whole thing. And it's like specific events that need to happen, and also sort of like sort of sections that you need to have and how long they should be. And he kind of goes through the whole thing, and it's sort of like, it's something that where a lot of people have never thought about a story in that way before, sort of seen it so clearly laid out. And the really cool thing, I think, is that he goes through a lot of films and like maps them onto that and shows you, you may think this sounds like, oh, it's just for formulaic Hollywood garbage, but look at all these great films and look at how they fit this, like almost to the letter. Like, you can pause your favorite movie on, like, I was watching Aliens one time after I'd read this book, and I paused it at the moment that I'm thinking it's the moment where they see the steam come out and know that the reactor is going to blow up in a certain amount of time, right? It's like this major turning point in the movie, what you would call the midpoint. And if you pause it when that happens, it's like literally right in the middle of the bar on the DVD player. And he talks about the midpoint, and he talks about how it's important, and it's either needs to be a false victory or false defeat or whatever. But so there's all those sorts of things. But it's what it ends up providing you is like, here's how to write something that's sort of stock formula. And if you can understand this and really grasp why these things are important to be here and when they need to happen, then you can kind of go and grow and tweak it to your advantage, or for what you're writing or the style that you're going for, or whatever. But if you don't understand this, then you're going to run into problems. You're going to have, your main character isn't sort of getting into a situation that they need to get out of until halfway through the book, and it needs to happen like 10% of the way into the book or something like that. And so that sort of helped me kind of like figure out the basics and sort of like what needs to be there to have a satisfying story. And then that's sort of like when you're starting out playing music, it's like learning the classic like pop song rhythm, the chorus and where that needs to happen, and then you got to repeat it here or whatever. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, yeah, okay, now I can write like really junky formulaic pop songs if I want to expand and get into something more interesting. But if you don't have that basis, it's kind of harder maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
So I really liked it for that perspective. And so what I guess long-winded way of saying that sometimes I don't really do this as much anymore, although I will if I'm like really struggling with getting a plot sorted out, is I will use his little, he calls it the beat sheet, and it's like the various story beats and where they need to be. And I'll try to map whatever idea I have onto that as sort of like a very first outline, just try to get this story sorted out. And it's helpful because it tells you, it doesn't really say like you need a plot twist here, but like there's a certain event that needs to happen here. And a lot of times that can be satisfied with a cool twist or something. So I use that. I then do an actual outline where I really flesh it out and try to get it down to the chapter by chapter, and I'll think of some more cool twists to have there. Not as many of them come when I'm actually writing. It's pretty rare for me to like at the end of a chapter go, ooh, but maybe what if it's actually, his dad or something like that. And the reason is simply that I try to think of those things and through the ramifications when I'm outlining rather than when I'm writing, because it's the process of untangling something like that and figuring out how it's going to affect the rest of the story, or maybe what I've already written, is too big of a time sink. Actual writing process, much easier to deal with that.
Sorry.
In outline form. Yeah, no problem.
Do you, so sort of like a side question on that is do you sort of know where the main character is going to end up by the end of the book? Like, you kind of have an idea they're going to start here and they're going to end here, and
yeah, usually I do. Yeah,
that right at the beginning, huh? Oh god.
Yeah, and sometimes like the one I'm working on right now, I've known the ending for quite a while, and figuring out a plot that gets me there has been really, really tough.
So is the ending, is that kind of like the aha when you're like telling the story? You're like, man, I'd really like to tell a story that like ends like this. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly.
I never thought of it that way, because I'm reading it, right? So to me, I read it linearly. So I start at the start.
And I usually, I mean, I write linearly, even if I've done all the plotting and everything, but I still write it beginning to end.
Mhm.
I know some authors who skip around, but I just can't do it. Sorry for the cough.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, so I do like for one book, I'll do, you know, and that really what I would call my terse outline, which I usually do like between 3 and 5 words per chapter. So the example I always give people, because they can't wrap their mind around that, is if I was outlining Star Wars, my last chapter would be Luke destroys Death Star. So that's all I need to know to write that chapter. It's usually, if I can, it's what happens at the end of the chapter.
Right.
And it's somebody doing something. If I can meet those things, then and I outline that, then that's all I need to kind of work an outline and figure out how things are going to go. And I'll do dozens of versions of an outline, you know, just trying different stuff. Even if it's something that doesn't really feel right, I'll still sort of tweak things and see where it goes, and then I might toss that one. And eventually I'll start, you know, making versions where I'm barely changing anything from the last one, and it's usually when I know I'm ready to start doing a full-on, like, either just start writing or do like an actual, you know, long-winded synopsis kind of thing.
This is like learning how a magic trick is performed.
It's cool. It's really
It is cool, but I'm not sure.
Are you scared, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm going to lose the magic. If
Oh,
You know
no.
what is funny? I tell you something funny, because you just sparked I have a neighbor of mine, really nice lady, has been asking me for writing tips, and I told her about the whole, you know, save the cat thing and all that. And I said, I have to give you a little warning. And I suppose I should have put this caveat for you guys too in your audience, is that it's a really interesting book to read, to learn like that sort of structure and, you know, when those story beats happen and all that. But it completely ruins movies. Like almost every movie you see now, you'll be going, oh, okay, here comes the midpoint, because we're, you know, started at 7:30. It's 9 o'clock now. It's exactly halfway through.
Time to wrap it up.
Hey, honey, this midpoint sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, because a lot of times I watch movies with Nancy, and my wife Nancy, and like there will be one of those moments, like a big surprise or reveal or twist or whatever, and she'll kind of go, whoa, wow. And then she'll look at me, and I'm just kind of sitting there. She's like, did you see that coming? And I'm like, oh yeah, because we're 48 minutes in, and that's where it's supposed to happen.
That's where the red wedding belongs.
48 minutes in. Oh, that's good. It's fun.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning maybe too that type of strict, that formula only kind of makes sense for Hollywood, because there's so many people involved in approving. Like, you wrote a screenplay, but to actually get that all the way to the point where it's on screen and in theaters, you know, there's hundreds of people that have to sign off and put up money and all that. A novelist, you don't have so many people saying, well, you know, where's the inciting incident on page 10? I didn't see it, you know, because Hollywood executives, part of he actually talks about this in Save the Cat, that like Hollywood executives, they can't really measure like something as from an artistic perspective.
Right.
When it's in screenplay form, sometimes they can, but if it's
we got to do some book promotion.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
I've always wanted to do book promotion, so that's why we're having you on. So let's see if I can.
Do you have a book to promote? Yeah. Oh, look,
he does have a book to promote.
Oh, hey,
it's called Instinct, and it's by Jason Huff. It's a real book.
My lowest tech book so far, but
it's. Let me see. There's pages. See, look at it's real.
Yeah.
There's real stuff, and there's actual words in there, and so we're gonna actually give away a book bought by yours truly. That's me. I bought a book, and I'm gonna give it away.
I'm glad you explained that to our audience, because you know
who yours truly is.
Yeah, because they swing younger, and it's sort of an older expression.
Signed. Now this one. How do I do this here? This is hard to do. Okay,
there you go.
So this one is signed. Well, this was written to me. I'm not going to give you this book, but I have another one that's signed. So we're gonna give that book out. This one says, Paul, all the best freaks are here. Sort of an inside thing.
A little bit
inside.
It's actually in the book.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, how cool. I haven't finished it.
Yeah, Jeff, you might not even be getting this, but Paul and I have bonded for many years over a music group called Marillion. and sort of obscure
Uh-huh.
progressive rock group.
He's familiar with
And-
that.
I'm familiar with it.
Okay,
Yeah. The
good, good.
obsession. Yeah.
The obsession, yeah. Anyway, every book I've done so far, I've sort of snuck in a Marillion reference. Sometimes very overt and sometimes super subtle. But yeah, in this one, she's in the bar, and there's Pink Floyd playing, I think, when she walks in. But by the time there's all this weird stuff happens while she's in the bar, and then as she's leaving, she hears this bit of lyric coming from the jukebox, which is "All the Best Freaks Are Here," which is a Marillion song. But it's apropos to the situation because all this weird stuff's going on. And
Ah.
Oh, that's awesome. Anyway, so we're gonna give away this one of these books. So all you have to do is contact me in some form. There's a lot of ways to do it. You have to figure it out. I'm not going to tell you right now, but you guys know how to find me. First person that does, I will send you the copy of the book that's signed.
Awesome.
So anyways, well, Jason, thank you so much, man, for coming on our little humble podcast.
Oh, my pleasure.
Talking about writing, and I think we definitely learned a lot.
Geez Louise, I had a great time.
Well, I did too, guys. It's always
Yeah.
great to chat with you, and I really liked your podcast, so it's a pleasure to be part of it.
Thank you very much. And then I want to do one more plug.
Yeah.
Ooh, there we go. I gotta learn how to do the plug better.
Yeah, Instinct.
Instinct. by
Jason M. Huff. Yeah. Buy
That's
it.
it.
Where
That's
do we
me.
where do they buy it at, Jason?
Where do you buy
Anywhere
books?
books are sold.
Anywhere
Okay.
books are sold.
All right, great. I like that.
Barnes and Noble. Your local bookstore is my go-to recommendation. Support a local store.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw Mysterious Galaxy in San Diego. They
Yep.
big supporters of yours, I think.
And one of the things, especially authors sort of like myself who are reasonably successful, but not like household name territory yet. If you see it in an airport, and I know not a lot of people are traveling right now, but that's sort of like you're starting to make it when you spot your book in an airport because they can only have so much room. So if anybody sees it in an airport, send me a picture and I'll find something to send
Good place
you
to
back.
buy it in the airport.
Yeah.
Or
It's a
jasonhuff.com.
good
You can buy it
type
there.
of book to read for a flight. I think it's a quick, fast, fun book.
Nice. Well, thanks a lot, man. It's great to see you, and thanks for doing it, and look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, wish you all
Yeah.
the best with this book.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it
All
very
right.
much.
All
Thanks
right.
a lot.
Thanks, Jason.
See you later.
Bye.